Hi, I'm Sonia. I'm a developer, and this year I discovered the world of Adobe Express add-ons. These are basically extensions you can download inside of Adobe Express that give you extra functionalities, and anyone can make them. So I even made one myself. It's called the Design Digitizer. It's a tool that basically lets you replicate any design on a canvas. So if you want to digitize a logo, or if there's a cool font you found that you want to know the name of, Design Digitizer takes care of all of that for you. But the add-on that I want to make today is a lot more simple and a bit more festive. So as you can see in Adobe Express, you can add all kinds of shapes, but I feel like their stars options are a little limited. So you have the 5-pointed star, the 4-pointed star, these sparkly things, but yeah, not a lot of choice. So my idea is to create a custom add-on for stars. This way, if you want to make a Christmas card, you have all the choice in the world. Before we continue, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. It really helps out a lot. And hop on over to my shorts. I'm doing a really fun series now where I'm doing an advent calendar where every day I talk about the different dev tools I use every day. So if there's a particular video you like, let me know in the comments and I'll make a longer version for a particular tool. Now let's get back to creating the add-on. There are two ways to get started with add-on development. The first one is to run this command, but since the add-on we're making is quite simple, I suggest starting with a template. So you can go to this GitHub repo right here, and there is a sample that does something quite similar to what we want to do. It pretty much shows us how to paste any kind of shape or text on the canvas. So you can go ahead and clone it. I actually already did it right here. And let's rename it to Star Add-on. And here is what the code looks like. So let's install all the packages. And you can simply run npm run start to see the add-on in action. So in Adobe Express, you can go directly to add-ons and turn on add-on testing. And here you will be able to preview your add-on live. So in the code here, we can see that it will paste a rectangle, an ellipse, and some text. And here we go. So for our stars, we're also going to be using a similar method. But before that, let's just play around with it a little bit. Maybe remove the rectangle and the text. And also let's make this into a circle instead. And as you can see, when I do Control S, it rebuilds automatically. So now when I do create shape, it gives us a circle. Now to make our star, we're going to be using SVG paths. There's a really nice website I found that lets you get familiar with how SVG paths work because you have different commands like L is line, M is move. Let's try to paste a heart. So here, instead of create ellipse, we're gonna do create path. And then copy this code right here and add it here. And also, yeah, we're not going to need these anymore, so let's get rid of them. So now when we do create shapes, here is our nice little heart. So now, how do we trace stars with SVG paths? Well, instead of tracing our star like this, we're going to visualize it inside two circles. So we have the outer circle that touches all the points, and then also the inner circle that touches all the angles right here. And basically, when we want to trace around the star like this, we're just alternating between the outer circle and the inner circle. So we're just going outer, inner, until we reach the starting point. And these are the segments that we're going to be tracing with our paths. So since we're on the circle, all the coordinates of the points are going to be given by this formula right here, where we have Cx, Cy, which is the center of the circle. And then the radius is going to be either the outer or the inner circle, depending on the step. So if we write a little pseudocode here, let's say for I in range 2n. So 2n is because we're going to be going not just through the outer points here on the 5-pointed star, but on the inner ones as well. So we have 10 points in total. So for I in range 2n, r is going to be equal to the outer radius if it's divisible by 2, and the inner radius otherwise. Then for our angle, we also need to take into account the rotation. And for the number of steps, we're basically taking the whole circle, so 2 pi, and we're dividing it by 2n, which is the number of points. So it's just going to be pi over n. And so our angle is going to be the rotation plus the step that we're on. And then we can plug these into our formula for the coordinates. And in the end, we want a sort of list of points like this that we can connect together. Now let's translate this into JavaScript. So here, before we actually plot anything, we're going to define another function that we're going to call generate star path. And for that, we're going to need our number of points. Then the outer radius, the inner radius, and the center points. Center X, center Y. Yep, perfect. Then we're just going to initialize the points and then the angle step as well. So that's going to be our pi over n. Yep, looks right. And then, okay, so autocomplete wants to do all the work for us. Let's see if this actually makes sense. So yeah, so we start at 0 until 2n, and then, yep, it's the outer radius if it's divisible by 2, and inner radius otherwise. And yeah, we have the angle step as well. Looks about right. And then that's going to give us our x and y. So center x plus radius times math cos angle. Yep. The y as well. And then we're going to collect all the points together. Yep. And before we wrap up our function, we're also going to tell our SVG path what to do. So, yep, looks about right. So we're going to pick up our pen at the beginning and then trace a segment between every pair of x and y. Yep, looks about right. And at the end, we just need to close the path with the Z command and return path data. Great. And now for our plotting function itself. So we're going to try this with the 5-pointed star first to test things out. And before plotting everything, we're just going to define our constants first. So let's pick the inner radius at 50. Yeah, the outer radius at 100. And then we also need our center points. And then let's set star path as well. And that's just going to be the function that we defined, applied it to all of the above. And so then we're going to create path with these points. And before we get too confused, let's just rename ellipse to star. All right, let's see if this actually works. And here is our star. Now, let's get rid of this smiley face right here. So wait, where is it? And now instead of the smiley face, I want to add a slider that will let the users choose how many points they want their star to have. And between you and me, I'm not that much of a front-end coder. I usually delegate all of this to Claude Code. So even if this is a little overkill, let's see if Claude has any suggestions for us on how to do this. Hope this makes sense. Okay, let's see what this gives us. If you use Claude Code a lot while coding, I suggest using an MCP server made especially for add-on development. So, well, there are actually two of them. So this is the official one that's now in beta. So it connects you to documentation and TypeScript definitions so that Claude Code doesn't really get confused while coding in this quite special add-on environment. And there's also the community MCP server that I quite like as well. So it's really up to you which one you prefer. I find it particularly useful while you're working on UI. So I'm not really a UI expert. And if you want your add-on to look professional, you want to make sure that it uses Adobe Express guidelines. And since the MCP server is connected to all of that documentation, you can just tell it to stick to the guidelines. And it makes coding so much easier because you don't have to read the documentation, basically. All right, allow all edits. Okay, let's see how well it did. So let's say, yeah, 14 points. Here we go. 20. Perfect. 3. Yep, that's a triangle. Yep. Okay, great job, Claude Code. Now, the next thing I want to add is another slider that will let the user pick the inner radius so that they have control over how thick the star is. So basically here, we would have another slider that will be responsible for size. and another slider that controls size. Okay, let's see if this works. So let's say 12 and yeah, 50. All right. And then 16 and 24. And then 4 and 99. Perfect. Then let's see this in action. Ah, perfect. So here we go. This is how you make a custom stars add-on in Adobe Express. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried out add-on development yet and what kind of add-ons did you make. And if you haven't, I highly recommend trying it out. It's honestly lots of fun, even more fun than developing Chrome extensions because you get to see results right away. The documentation is really well made, so definitely give it a try. And honestly, if you're an artsy kid at heart and you're used to working with all of these design tools, then add-on development can really combine your two passions into one. So definitely give it a try. All the code that I showed you, as well as the websites, are going to be linked down below, so you can try to recreate this yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.